Future's now, old man.
What to do, Combine IQ? This is Future First Podcast, where we help you win today with the Future First mindset. I'm your co-host, J-Mac, here with my co-host, Jose. What's going on, dude?
How much, J-Mac? How you been?
I've been good, man. Been watching the Combine, getting all the stats, figuring out who's who. You know, it's weird, man. I've been looking. I say Combine IQ at the top because last year they had that cool Combine IQ. I can't find it anywhere this year, and what they do have is not nearly as cool as what they had last year, and I'm a little bit disappointed about all that.
Yeah, I remember that. That was pretty cool. I think sometimes the NFL puts this stuff out, and sometimes the owners or whoever behind the scenes doesn't like it. Kind of like the report cards the owner were trying to hide from everybody, right? Those came out too. Some shockers in there, but anyways, yeah, combine season. It's exciting. So Freak went out there and did his thing as we kind of predicted. It was as crazy as it seemed like it was going to be, and he met all expectations. So that was great to see. So it's combine season. This is exciting. This is kind of the first data point that we get before the NFL draft. And now we'll start hearing all the, 20 visits and all those other things that kind of will give us another little breadcrumbs along the way. But yeah, man, it's exciting. The real prospect season is really heating up now. We're getting into the real thick of it. So it's fun.
Yeah, it is, man. I'm looking forward to free agency. We already have, franchise tags being placed. I don't know how you feel about your boy. Let's actually talk about that in the quick hit here. The franchise tags coming up. But yeah, I guess before we get into that, let's go over some house cleaning. Roster review services. So we're still doing the roster review services, and if you are looking to have your Dynasty roster reviewed, hit us up. We'll provide roster construction feedback or give you general moves, even some specific moves to make to improve your team. If you have a startup coming up, we can do a tailored draft strategy for you as well. And that's $5 a team. And you can send your roster review request to futurefirstpod@gmail.com if you're interested. And we will send you some information on how you can get going on that. We've done a couple of them now and had some really great feedback. So please reach out. We're happy to do these. There's a ton of fun. And we had a contest, or I guess an entry going out there, a free entry. All you had to do was like, comment, and subscribe. And we had a few entries come in. And G Hopkin 3, you won. Congratulations, man. So if you see this, reach out to us. And if not, we'll contact you in the YouTube comments and we'll get you plugged in. Or you can get us plugged in into your Dynasty roster, and we'll get you reviewed going forward. Cool. And if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to touchdown on that like button. Go for 2 on that subscribe. Drop a comment while you're there. We love engaging with you guys. And if you're catching this episode on the Player Profiler Network, go over to our YouTube and follow us directly at Future First Pod, or search Future First Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Spotify, Apple Pods, wherever it is. You can follow, rate the show, drop a review. We love it. Shout out to Fox, who's been helping us with their graphics, and shout out to McGrumble, who's been helping us with their stats. You can follow them on X at bfoxworth07 and at ff_McGrumble. All right, we got to talk about these wide receiver rookie classmen coming in, and there's a lot of them. So let's get to it. Are you ready, dude?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, man. Here we are in the quick hit. Let's talk about these franchise tags that are going on, because I know you have some big feelings about one of these guys. Kyle Pitts getting tagged by the Falcons, man. How I know you said that you were going to be out on this if that happened, but is that the case, or are we still in?
Yeah, I mean it's not as bright. I'm not as excited for it. I think Cousins is probably getting cut, released, who he had his most
Mhm.
production with, but he wasn't bad with Michael Penix either. But just the uncertainty at quarterback, I don't love it. So I'm gonna keep my shares of Kyle Pitts probably because nobody's probably gonna pay what he's worth, but I'm not nearly as excited as if he had hit the free market and maybe gone to one of these teams with, very solid quarterback and offensive coordinator play calling. So, it'll be interesting what they do and if they're trying to work a long-term deal, but he seems more like the guy that's probably going to be there. I don't know what he'll do. If he'll do the George Pickens route we're going to talk about as well, where he'll just sit out until he gets the deal, or if there's like a sign and trade possibility maybe. I'm not sure. I haven't heard too many news about what Kyle Pitts kind of feels like, or from his agent or camp. So yeah, it's just not as exciting for what could have been.
No, I agree. But on the other hand, George Pickens got tagged, and that is about as exciting as it could get for George Pickens. Obviously, what we saw him do in the Cowboys offense last year is, buoying his draft and dynasty value going into this 2026 season, which is pretty high. Nonetheless, he's right up there, right around that wide receiver one status for them. Do you think the tag was placed to keep him on the team, or do you think the tag was placed to try and trade him?
I think they're going to try to do everything they can to keep him. I think if they can figure out a way to do the Cincinnati Bengals, although that doesn't make a ton of sense, like roster construction wise, if they can figure that out, I think if Pickens can come down somewhere into that level to fit behind CD. But I was looking at reports that Pickens was maybe looking to be the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL type of deal. I just don't think there's any way that could be possibly done. Like in terms of what he's done, yes, he had a great year, but in terms of the receiver he is and some of the things he's shown, even in Dallas last year with giving up and on routes and towards the end of the season, they're not playing that hard. I just don't see how you can kind of keep the team structure together to pay him more than CeeDee Lamb. Personally, I don't think he's a better player than CeeDee Lamb either, so it wouldn't really make sense. So if George Pickens and his team that's like where they're at, they're looking at the top of the market, I don't think a deal gets done, and then it probably gets really messy leading into camp and future on, and then a whole saga. But the Cowboys have kind of been saying all the things. I don't know how much to believe. Like I was saying before, I don't want to get too excited, but they are looking to spend money. They are saying they're going to be active in free agency. And they can restructure about like 3 major contracts to push money down the road and create like $60 million worth of cap. Everybody, just today or 2 days ago got $22 million extra in the cap as it went up into the new year. So I think there's money to make it happen. But if he wants to be the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL, it's not going to be on the Cowboys. I don't think.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you there. And yeah, I mean, if the Cowboys could restructure, at least starting with Dak, I think that frees up a lot of bit of cap space where they're going to need it to get some defense in there for them if they want to not be like the Bengals. Yeah, and then I think the only other franchise tag news we have is that the Jets are planning to place it on Breece Hall, which was weird. It wasn't committal. It's like pretty much if they couldn't get the deal worked out, that was the plan. Poor Breece.
Yeah, he's just going to be in jail again. It seems like all our hopes of, him going to a team. Hey, this team's up Jeremiah Love to the Chiefs. So let's do it. I mean, hey, I'll sacrifice a Breece Hall for a Jeremiah Love on the Chiefs any day. No, I mean, speaking of the combine and the this is not fake. I double checked. I was like, nah, J-Max memeing me. He hacked the sleeper account. Like he made this up. Aaron Glenn caught sleeping while just on national TV. I mean, like, come on, man. Like I saw somebody post it and they were like, every time I see something like this from the Jets or in general about the Jets, I just think of that poor guy / kid. I can't remember coming out of the game. And he's just like, I'm just tired of being a Jets fan, man. And he's crying.
I didn't choose this.
Yeah, just like, man, like, and then he wakes up and he sees his face all on the screens. And he's in the background of the screen. So you could totally tell he's looking at himself and he's just like, oh damn, they caught me sleeping. Like,
yeah,
what a life to be a Jets fan. But yeah, man, sucks for Breece Hall. You hope they can find something to figure something out at quarterback so that the offense can be a little bit better to give Breece a chance. But yeah, I mean, it's not looking too good for them this year.
I don't think they want to. I think they kept Aaron Glenn around so that they can tank this year because they have their eye on one of these quarterbacks coming out in the 2027 class. Like, It just doesn't make sense. Like their moves. I mean, it is the Jets. I don't. Maybe they're destined to never make sense. But yeah, I feel bad for the Jets fans, man. Um, yeah, there's a lot of rumors and trade talks steaming up for in the combine too. I don't have any on the dock here to talk about, but I don't know if you had any that you wanted to mention, any that got steamed up.
I mean, it just seems like the Giants are desperate to trade back. That's kind of one of the biggest things. Like they keep talking about, oh, we want Jeremiah Love, or it's like you're not taking Jeremiah Love. Like it just screams of like, hey, we love all these players here. Someone come trade for them because we just love them too much. But not, I didn't see any too concrete. But I mean, you got all the GMs, all the owners in one area for an extended period of time. So
Mm.
it definitely is a time for things to get kind of drummed up and some talks to happen. So hopefully we'll get some interesting. Hopefully free agency's good to us fantasy wise.
Yeah, I think that it will be. I mean, it seems like there's a lot of people in the market for the running back, and they're looking to explore it not only in free agency but also the draft. Like you said, the Giants, maybe that's just fake news and smokescreen to get people to want to move up to that 102. But hey, it's that time of year. We gotta figure out what's smoke and what's fire. But
You know what doesn't seem to me smoke is Clint Kubiak coming out right away and saying he wants to
oh
make
man,
Genty his Kenneth Walker and find somebody to take all his touchdowns or whatever. Like, man, if
that
you're a Genty
video.
owner, you have to be kind of upset about that. You hope he's kidding because I mean Genty's 10 times the player. No offense to Kenneth Walker or Charbonnet, but man, you hope he gets in the practices and the games and sees what Genty can do, and he's like, yeah, man, I got to put this
How
guy
do
on the
I
field as
not?
much as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's definitely not Kenneth Walker, right? I mean, he's a better, way better prospect than Kenneth Walker. The fact that he said that he's looking to maybe share it with like two other people, it gives me hope, right? Like, I mean, like those two other people, are they gonna be like, like the Tyler Badee, like those type of guys that are in there? I don't know. I hope good things about it. But yeah, man, that video is like, it's such weird vibes. Like the shadow on it, the wall behind him, his like very slumped over demeanor is like, it just felt like, yeah, like the guys behind the camera. Clint, you can leave anytime you want. You just have to answer the question exactly as we wrote it on the card for you.
Yeah, it's like he got into like he's coming off the Super Bowl high. He's like, oh, this is great, and then like he instantly enters the Las Vegas Raiders like facility, and it just like sucks the life
It's
out
a
of him. He's like, what did I do? Why am I here? I could have stayed in Seattle. Why?
oh
Oh man.
man, it's too good, too good. All right. Well, nonetheless, let's talk about some fast draft here. If you guys aren't on fast draft, make sure you are getting over there. And if you do, you can use reference code FUTURE to get a deposit match up to $50 there. It's that time of year where the rookies, all the rookie hype is happening. The combine did a lot for these rookies. So make sure you guys are jumping over there and getting into the Origins tournament. It's a ton of fun. You get to draft 6 rookies, all of them, and then the best score of the flex, you flex 4 of them per week throughout the year, takes home quite a bit of money there. So if you guys aren't over there, make sure you get over there and draft with us. And if you're not into best ball, that's not your thing, and you're solely like a dynasty guy, you can look over to Player Profiler on the Dynasty Deluxe. It's a great tool to help you keep your dynasty teams rolling and keep you in the green on those fees, those league fees. So let's pause here for the Podfather to talk about the Dynasty Deluxe.
If you play in Dynasty, you need Dynasty Deluxe, our premium package for Dynasty Leaguers. We rank over 300 players, updated every week, all year long. And there's a win now mode and a rebuild mode with Superflex and tight end premium controls. And a Dynasty League sync where you can say, sync down all of my sleeper teams, all my FFPC teams, and then you can browse around your leagues for who has needs, and then you can use our trade finder to see what kinds of trades are happening in leagues that are similar to the one I want to do. Then you can analyze trades using our trade analyzer, which balances the lifetime value, which includes pick values out to like 2028. All of that plus the rookie guide, $25 value is included. So if you're just in one Dynasty League, Dynasty Deluxe is well worth it. And use your host's promo code, and you can bump up to All In and get $25 off.
All right, welcome back. We're here to talk about some wide receiver prospects for this 2026 class. And this is it feels like the premium position of the rookie class here. We have 3 top end talents that are going to be the highly desired guys, and quite a bit of depth behind them too. I would say at least 6 or 7 guys that I feel good about, depending draft spot and capital that goes into them. But we're going to dive into our 6 favorite here more in detail with their 2025 stats up on the screen. And then we also have kind of the rest of them as an aggregate that we'll look at the end. But to start us off here, we're going to look at Makai Lemon, one of our favorites out of this class. He comes from USC, the Trojans, confirmed coming in at 5'11", 192 pounds, 21.7 years old. And I say confirmed because before the combine, people weren't really sure what he was going to come in at. His size was 5'11", 195 pounds. So the 192, it's not concerning. I mean, that's right around where you wanted to be. You would have liked to have seen 198 instead of 195, or, instead of that 192 going the opposite direction. But I mean, nonetheless, like, this was expected for him. That's the one knock. One of the knocks on him is that he's undersized here going forward. He's not the Justin Jefferson or the Jamar Chase kind of size where they're 6 foot, 205, 200. That's really the profile that we want to attack here. But nonetheless, this guy is a dog. I don't know if you guys have seen his combine videos, but he's like, he's doing that little like snaky look, and it's funny hearing people talk about it. I'm like, man, I'm pretty sure that's just how they do it for where he's from. You tell me, Jose, you're from LA. Is that what guys are doing out there? Is that how they talk and what they look like? Oh, you're muted, buddy.
Oh, my bad. Sorry there. Yeah, me and Makai Lemon caught from the exact same cloth. We hang out in the same streets. Yeah, man. I mean, that's just the LA thing. Yeah, I mean the weight concerns and stuff. I mean, it's just the NFL. I think that's where you're headed. I mean, you're talking about, like a half an inch to an inch and like, 5 to 7 pounds compared to like JSN and some of the other guys. So yeah, I mean, I just think the NFL is trending towards like, you don't need to be 6 foot something and 200 pounds anymore, like especially if you can get into the right system. So, he was a little lighter than expected, but I don't think it was so dramatic where it's a huge thing. But yeah, one thing about him and pretty much all the top prospects that we're going to talk about is none of them really did most of the workouts. Like a lot of them didn't do a full workout. Makai didn't run a 40. Tate didn't run a 40. Jordyn Tyson was injured, so he didn't do anything. So it was just not great. I mean, I think Tate run the 40, but they didn't do full workouts. It seems like that's more and more trending, like especially wide receivers are just like, I don't need to do everything. I'll do my pro day probably, and that will be a more comfortable setting with my coaches, with my people. But yeah, so
let's get into his
more
stats here. Yeah, man.
Before we like keep going into the the actual player here.
Yeah, so he ran 369 routes in 2025, had 108 targets for 79 receptions, went for 1,156 yards with 11 touchdowns. That's actually the most in this class for the 2025 season. I need to confirm that, but my browser is freezing over here. And then we have 502 yards after the catch, targets per route run of 0.29. So that's elite. And a yards per route run of 3.13. That screams elite right there also. First downs per route run of 0.14, which is right at that sweet spot of where we want to see them at. He had 6.35 yards after the catch per reception. So, yeah, I mean, a great prospect all around. You can't feel bad about Makai Lemon here. I think he's great all over the field. He ran more routes out of the slot than he did out wide, which is where people love to knock on him, is that he's kind of more a slot only guy, but it's just not true. He's actually one of the most effective on the outside. I think his yards per route run when he was on the outside was like, I want to say it was over 4. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it was like high 3s or like low 4s or something crazy like that. So this guy's a stud, man. And if you watch him play, it jumps, it pops on the screen, and you can tell he's just got this grit to him where he wants to run people over and run through them, and he's very physical in that sense. And I think that's why he gets the comp to Amon-Ra St. Brown in so many ways. Honestly, it'd probably be Puka if he were bigger. Like that would probably be the number one comp. I think that their play styles are very similar. And they asked him about it, like Amon-Ra was the guy that he kept talking about on kind of who he models his game after. So I love Lemon. He's definitely going to be top of my draft board when we get to the rookie draft season here.
Yeah, agreed. I think he's still remaining as my number one guy. I know Tate is getting a lot of hype and pushed up, and they're kind of battling one for one, and we'll talk about Tate next. But to focus on Lemon, yeah, I mean, it's hard not to fall in with kind of what anybody I'm listening to is talking about him and comping him to Amon-Ra St. Brown. But I think it just fits so perfectly well with what he does. I mean, I see also, some CeeDee Lamb in there if you wanted to throw in like a lower end, that would still be fantasy relevant, although, with your 102, 103 pick, you wouldn't be super happy about. Chris Godwin, a little bit of him in there. But yeah, I mean, he's a guy that can go anywhere on the field. You hope that he gets to OC and a head coach and just an offense that is willing to move the receiver and doesn't see him as a slot only guy and will just put him all over the field, because they, even like JSN lining up in the backfield in the Super Bowl, like those sorts of things, he can run pretty much any route that that you want to ask him to do. Let me see. I have a few. Like, he's a chain mover. He's great, good hands. He's safe, right? He played, like you said, a lot of the snaps from the slot, but so did Justin Jefferson. And now we see what Justin Jefferson is. Obviously, a bit of a different game, a bit of a more of a tactician in terms of running routes. But I think he's. You mentioned Puka. I think he's like a pocket Puka, right? Like he's a slot Puka, if you wanted to kind of comp him in another way, right? The way he plays, he's aggressive, and he wants contact. He's not, catching the ball and going down like who is the guy from Seattle that I'm blanking right now?
Well, Tyler Lockett.
Tyler Lockett, yeah, like catch the ball and go to the ground, right? Like that's not his style. So he's definitely still my top prospect. The landing spot will determine a decent amount, especially for, comparing him to Tate. And, we hope to see Jordyn Tyson do something workout related, this before the draft. I don't know if we're going to get anything. It doesn't seem like it, but you'd hope just for him. But yeah, man, I love Makai Lemon. He's my dude right now.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think, like, to sum it up, like, he's built like JSN but plays like Puka. Like that's how I like to think about it. Like he's very, and I think that JSN kind of got the similar knock coming out of college too. Was like, oh, he's undersized, he's more of a slot guy, and look at him in the right scheme, right? I mean, that's just speaks to where the NFL is at nowadays. Okay, I think we gave Makai Lemon due justice here. Let's move on to and it feels weird saying this, man, but I think I'm moving Carnell Tate up above Makai Lemon because I was a Makai Lemon believer. The analytics just popped, especially in comparison to Carnell Tate. But man, as I went back and I watched the film, it really just spoke to me. And like when I was thinking about like how does this guy not have the analytics to back up? It makes a lot of sense that he was playing behind Marvin Harrison Jr., Emeka Egbuka, and then once those guys cleared the space, then he had to deal with Jeremiah Smith and still was dealing with Jeremiah Smith. So let's get into what he did in 2025, which was by far his best year as in his collegiate career. He is from the Ohio State Buckeyes, which you may have guessed after us talking about Marvin Harrison Jr. and Jeremiah Smith. He's 6'2", 192 pounds, confirmed at the combine, 21.2 years old. He ran 290 routes for 66 targets, 51 receptions, 875 yards, 9 touchdowns, 231 yards after the catch, garnering a 0.23 targets per route run and had a 3.02 yards per route run and a 0.12 first down per route run and a yak per reception of 4.53. So again, these analytics are not going to pop off the page here and scream that this guy is the wide receiver one of the class, but when you turn on his film, he is so smooth and just deceptively good at route running. And I don't mean, from the tape, you're like, oh, this guy isn't a good route runner, is he? Like, I don't mean that. I mean, like, when safeties and corners are covering him, he can sell the route one way and flip it and go the other. And he's so good at it, especially on the go routes. He's really good about catching, his cornerback with his hips flipped and then just running the other way and burning it. He's also got, incredible hands. He's a contested catch guy. He can win there too. But I don't want to like fool you guys into thinking like that's what he does is go balls and contested catches. Like he can find the soft spot in the zone and sit there, and he's really good at working when the play breaks down, working back to the quarterback and making the play for him. So I think he's really quarterback friendly. I think he also does this thing where he just like glides on his feet when it comes to like press coverage and, getting that guy, getting space off of him. They have to respect him, like press coverage on him. He's 6'2" at 195 pounds. Like he's not like getting thrown around, but they have to respect him because of his speed and because of his route running. But he'll run up on guys and he does this thing with his feet where he looks like he's going one way and then just like shifts and glides the other way. And it's crazy to watch because his foot looks like it's planted, but it just moves on the turf or the grass and goes the other way. I'm sold on this guy. I think he's the real deal. Pre-draft, I want to put him above Makai Lemon just because I feel like he's less scheme proof. Right, Makai Lemon, we really want to see him go to the right scheme, in like a West Coast offense where they're going to be moving him around. Like, I think Carnell Tate would be really, really good in that kind of scheme, but I also think Carnell Tate would be good in any kind of scheme. He's more that traditional wide receiver, whether it's outside, inside, regardless. I think that he's going to produce and be that guy for a team. But let's hear Jose's thoughts on all this.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing when I see him is my question is, can he be the number one guy? Can he be the alpha? And it's like he played with all these guys, and that's what we're saying. His production profile wasn't good. So does that mean he's just always going to be T. Higgins, who's kind of how I comp him to, kind of on the mid end? Like, is he always kind of going to be the great as the second weapon, not the best as the number one, which is perfectly fine. I mean, T. Higgins, besides getting injured, you love him for fantasy. A George Pickens style, like he's thrived. He broke out when he had another guy opposite him, right? You were talking about that he's not just like a contested catch merchant, like a jump ball guy, although he had I think it was like 86% right with contested catches and then a 0% drop, which was crazy. I think I saw that stat somewhere for him that he had something like that. So he has amazing hands, like elite, right? So that was my only concern. I do think Carnell Tate has the highest ceiling, unless Makai Lemon really does turn into Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think Carnell Tate has the higher ceiling out of all the guys here who could, break into and just be one of the best receivers in the entire NFL, starting out. And like you said, he's a lot less dependent maybe on scheme. So he could kind of produce maybe earlier on in his career. I don't hate Carnell Tate by any means. I think depending on your roster construction and what you're looking at, if you're coming out of a rebuild, I think Makai Lemon's a little bit of a safer asset going into the future. I do think Tate is a bit of like the hopium, like the big swing type of pick, because he could pay off much more than Makai Lemon. So that's kind of how I see it. I think, part of it will depend like how high do any of these guys go top 5? Do both of them go top 10? Like where do they go? So, there's not a ton of teams that I love picking that are picking in those top 10, but it sounds like at least, most of these guys are getting that sort of capital in most of the mock drafts. So I do like Carnell Tate. I just think I like Lemon just a bit more, but I think the draft could definitely flip them from 1 to 2.
Yeah. And I think that's very possible where I'm gonna be higher on Lemon after the draft than I will be on Tate, just because of the way Tate profiles. I feel like a bad team is more likely to pick him. But you're not wrong. Carnell Tate had a contested catch rate of 85.7 last year. He had 14 targets, caught 12 of them, and had 0 drops last year alone. So I don't have that for his whole career, but I mean, 14 contested targets of his 66 total. So that's like less than 20% contested target rate, which is really good. Like, I think contested targets is kind of like a double-edged sword. I've been looking at it as a way to determine analytically how well someone separates. If they have a ton of contested targets, they're probably not separating all that well. But I also think that it could just speak volumes to a quarterback trusting in their wide receiver and them being that good at it. So I think having like a healthy, percentage of hovering right around 20 is a good thing. So I think that Carnell Tate is right there with that. So yeah, love Carnell Tate. I don't know if you have any more words you want to say on him, or should we just move here to Jordyn Tyson?
Let's move on, man.
Let's do it. All right, Jordyn Tyson out of Arizona State with the Sun Devils. What a name. I love it.
Fitting. I mean, that one fits. I don't know what a Buckeye is, but hey, a Sun Devil, you're in the middle of the dang desert in Arizona, makes sense to me.
I'm pretty sure Buckeye is a type of wheat, right? They named themselves after a crop.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, there ain't nothing in the Mid-East anyway, like in the middle of the country. I don't know what's out there. Who knows? Don't ask me. I'm in California, man. I don't know. It was 90 degrees today in freaking February, while the other part of the country is like in a blizzard. So I'm not trying to be a coastal elite or anything like that. But let's talk about Jordyn Tyson, man. You got me off topic again.
I love it though, man. I love it. West Coast, Best Coast, baby. Let's go. All right, he's the wide receiver 3 in this class. Stands in at 6'2", 203 pounds, 21 and a half years old. In 2025, he ran. I guess let's preface it too. He only played 9 games in 2025, and that was because I think it was a collarbone injury. Is that what he was working through? Or no, it was quad, right? Hamstrings. He ran 300 routes in those 9 games for 97 targets and 61 receptions for 711 yards, 8 touchdowns, 263 yards after the catch, garnering a 0.33 targets per route run, 2.37 yards per route run, 0.12 first downs per route run, and 4.31 of yards after the catch per reception. This guy is explosive. He is a ball hawk. He makes routine plays where he goes up and gets the ball. Incredible body control while in the air. Just kind of and great jump too. Like, I don't know, he didn't test at all, but I imagine in the vert jump he would have probably crushed it, because this guy is he just makes things look easy. He's hurdling guys in some plays, and incredibly explosive in open space too. He feels a little raw to me. Like, when you watch his film, like, he kind of does that like crazy running style like Isaiah Pacheco, but he doesn't look like Isaiah Pacheco where he's like stomping the ground, but he does like got these like wavy arms all over the place. I like Jordyn Tyson. I just think I'm cooling on him as putting him into like these top 3 kind of. I think the ceiling for him is really high, but I think the floor is also pretty low, where the range of outcomes here is just too great for me to want to bet on him. Whereas these other 2 guys, I would feel a lot safer about. I think we might share similar thoughts on this here, but I don't know. Do you view Jordyn Tyson as in the top 3 here, or have you kind of fallen back?
No, I think he's a solid third, and honestly, my biggest thing is the injuries. Like, if you took his 2024 year without this year where he got injured, obviously you can't just wave a magic wand and take the injuries away. But I mean, his 2024 year was, it would probably look like best in the class, right? He had a great year. I think he has of like the measurables that sometimes people put into their models. the true breakout age of like 18. Like he has the youngest. He was, he really broke out. But he's just been dealing with a lot of injuries, including like a major knee injury that he suffered in 2023, I want to say, or is that 2022? I can't remember. So I think the injuries is the only kind of biggest concern that I have. I think I actually feel like he's the most polished guy coming in. Like he could fit easily into most schemes. It's just going to be, can he stay healthy, right? I think for me, when you talk about high ceiling but lowest floor, is like this guy has a couple big injuries through his rookie contract. His 5th-year option gets picked up, and then maybe he just becomes a guy in the NFL because of his injuries, right? Like he's never able to develop. He's never really able to show his true abilities. I think that's the biggest concern for me, and it's like hard when you already have those thoughts of a player coming out of the draft, and on top of that, you're not going to see anything before the NFL draft. No scouts are seeing anything in terms of workouts. And I did want to mention, Tate did run his 40, and it was pretty slow. I mean, it was like, not to go back to take, we already talked about Carnell Tate, but I think he ran a 4.54. So, I mean, I think that was slower than people were thinking.
Definitely.
Now, Puka ran a 4.57, and Puka's one of the best, and running in shorts in a straight line does not really mean anything. It was just a little disappointing. I don't, never want to overreact to a 40 time for a wide receiver. It's just slightly disappointing. But anyways, back to Tyson. Yeah. For those reasons, I have him squarely as 3rd. Otherwise, I think if he was just healthy and he had maybe put up a similar season this year than he did in 2024, I think he could easily be a 3-headed monster, and there would be a lot more split opinions between the 3. I think right now, as a community, it's pretty much you're either Tate or Lemon for who you have as wide receiver 1, and then Tyson kind of always feels like the 3rd wheel bringing up. He's not in the KCC Denzel Boston, tier, but he feels like he maybe also doesn't necessarily fit the Tate Lemon tier. Like maybe it's, Lemon Tate, however you have them, break, then Jordyn Tyson, break, then the other guys. Maybe if anything, I could see
that's how
him.
I see it. In a tier by himself.
Yeah, if anything, maybe he would be falling more depending on what happens with Denzel Boston and KCC and some of these other guys that are kind of coming up the draft boards. He could be joined in that tier by a guy or two, depending on draft and some of these things that we, a couple data points that we continue to get. But yeah, I mean, I like Jordyn Tyson. I hope he gets a good landing spot and can stay healthy. That would be my biggest thing. I hope he gets a full rookie mini camp. I hope he gets a full training camp. No weird like, oh, Jordyn Tyson's missing 2 weeks of training camp because he tweaked a groin or a hand. Like you would hate to hear that and see that for him. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I think, I don't know, the injuries are definitely being factored in there for me, but I'm just not sold. Like when it comes to these other 2 prospects with their analytics and their film, like I see it. When I watch Jordyn Tyson on film, like I just feel it doesn't feel the same. Like he's good, don't get me wrong. I think that I want to bet on him and I want him on my teams, but I don't feel as confident in him as I do as those other 2 guys. Going back to like the Tate thing, like, and his time on the 40, I think people think he's faster than he is because of how well he separates. And I think that just kind of speaks to his route running. You see him burn past these guys, but it's because he's catching them either flat-footed or with their hips flipped, and is able to put like 5 yards in between him and not be able to catch up. Like 4.54 is still like pretty fast, and I think he also has like a top end speed that he can get to. It's just, getting to that point is a little bit more difficult for him. But all right, man, I think we banged out these top 3 guys pretty well. Let's take a break here before we get into the rest of the wide receiver class here. All right, welcome back. We are going to talk about the next guy on our list, wide receiver 4 in the class, which is KC Concepcion. I've known here on the podcast as KDC,
AKA KCC.
KCC. I think this guy is getting steamed up quite a bit too. I think, they're after that top three. The next guys that are kind of going off in order is it's between Concepcion, Omar Cooper Jr., and Denzel Boston, who we'll talk about here after we talk about KCC. But I think KCC is probably more deserving of the wide receiver four than the other two that we'll talk about. But let's dive into that his stats here before we get into that argument. So he is an Aggie, the good old Aggie from Texas A&M. And I'm from Davis in California, and we also are the UC Davis Aggies, which I don't know, like makes sense when when I think about Davis and like what they're doing here and like all the like biological studies that they got going on at UC Davis. But come on, like an Aggie? I don't even know what an Aggie is. I assume it's just an agriculturalist. You know what I mean? I don't know. Are you looking it up? You're
Yeah,
Googling it right
yeah.
now.
Let's see.
What's an Aggie?
Uh,
It just came
yeah,
up as a mascot.
historic agricultural roots, like a member of a university with historic agricultural roots. Yeah,
Oh
there you go.
man, what a what a great mascot.
And the fact that there's multiple Aggies, that what is that? Come on, why you can't
Right?
think of something new? Like,
Well,
come
maybe
on.
maybe that's the reason for all these bad names is because there's so many colleges and they're trying to differentiate from all these other guys.
Man.
All right, back to the prospects here. 6 foot, 196 pounds, 21 and a half years old. In 2025, he ran 374 routes for 101 targets, 61 receptions, 919 yards, 9 touchdowns, 440 yards after the catch, 0.27 targets per route run, 2.46 yards per route run, a first down per route run of 0.13, and 7.21 yards after the catch per reception. This guy is like the more stereotypical wide receiver, 6 foot, 195, 196 pounds. Like that's kind of what you want to see from your wide receiver. This guy is a playmaker, like making some insane catches, just coming down with the ball, really friendly to the wide receiver or to the quarterback here, making plays. Again, like I think the one knock on him was like the drops that he had. I think it's, but again, those aren't sticky, right? I don't know. Are you worried about drops with him?
I mean, you don't love it. I mean, you'd like to see like I don't have time for this, but if there's out there like a compilation, a drop compilation to see like well, how much was it? A drop can be you stretching, diving, and it hits your hands, but it was you trying to make a crazy play, or are you QJing it up and it's like hitting you right in the face and you're just dropping it, right?
Right.
Like I think there's different things to take there. I mean, you would love to see a Carnell Tate type of thing where he zero drop rate obviously, but that's not going to happen. I mean, one thing I was going to ask, I know we focus on receiving obviously for the wide receivers. Do you have his rushing for this last year? Because I know what was it like a couple of years ago when he was at North Carolina State, he had some very impressive numbers, but I wasn't sure if those kept up with him or if he kind of started once he got to Texas A&M started running the ball less.
Yeah, I could pull it up here really quick if you give me a second. You want to talk
Yeah,
about some other things
I'll-
you like about him?
yeah. I mean, I wrote down Yak Master. He just seems like
Nice.
he catches the ball and he's always creating yards after. He's got decent routes. I did put suspect hands, right? That's a thing like you were talking about at times. And he had early production, which is kind of what I was talking about, where he had a year like he did this year in terms of his receiving, but he also had like 40 rushes for another like 300 something yards or something like that. I believe. I don't know if you ended up finding it. It was in 2023, I believe. I don't know how far back you're, but I was
Yeah,
checking
I can do
if he
that.
had rushes. Did he have as many rush attempts or even any rush attempts as many like in these years, or did that was just like a one-off year?
No, so it looks like in 2025 he had 10 attempts for 75 yards here. Um, it also looks like I think my spreadsheet might be a little glitchy here because 2024 is saying the exact same thing as well as 2023 here. So
Okay, no worries.
I need a little bit more time if we want to. That might
No,
not
no,
even
it's
be right.
okay. I just threw you on the spot there to
No, you're
put your
good.
spreadsheet to the test. But yeah, man, I think comp wise, like a recent guy like Addison, is a maybe floor type of player, and a Olave on a high end. If he can really figure it out and learn his if he has a catch problem, make sure that's cleaned up. But I don't think it's a catch problem. He just, he's just not the most reliable, right? Like you're not, you'll see a couple drops here and there. But otherwise, man, I think he's a very solid guy, and I think he's kind of like we were talking about, like he's kind of that next tier. If you want to put Denzel Boston up there, maybe with him, but I think he's separating himself as the next guy, and it would be interesting to see, how does the NFL treat these guys, and how it wouldn't be so too crazy if all of a sudden KCC goes above Jordyn Tyson, or somebody falls
Mm.
in love with a Denzel Boston and he goes above the guys that we are pegging as for sure the top guys. So which could shake up things pretty interestingly. It would be a really wild first round. I think it's gonna be very exciting for fantasy and just NFL in general.
Yeah, and we haven't talked about it since the overview of the class, but this combine has done a lot for these late end draft picks, in terms of value, because the combine is what the NFL cares about. And the NFL is going to, see these guys come in and draft them highly. And when they get drafted highly, and we have 7 picks in the first round of skill players, and all of a sudden those late round first round picks and rookie drafts are more valuable to you. So this is great news for us if you're holding those late round picks. And yeah, Casey Concepcion, I feel like is probably going to land right around there. He's probably going to go 106, 107 would be my guess. But again, the draft can change things. I mean, the combine already is we haven't talked about, Mike Washington Jr., but holy moly, talk about a size speed score there. What is he, like 212 pounds running a sub 4.4? Like that's some scary stuff. And he's got a receiving profile to him too. Like I think he's no longer a sleeper. I think he's pretty well cemented in there. And he, if he gets a high end draft capital day 2 going to a good spot, like he's going to get vaulted up to the 106, 105. I can already call it. Let's get back to KC Concepcion here, though. 25 touchdowns over his career, which is one of the highest for the class here. Like you said, yak monster, 1,200 yards of yak over his career in college. So definitely a playmaker and someone that stuff translates, I feel like, into the NFL, as long as like the yak isn't a scheme created thing from screens or he definitely feels like a Debo-esque kind of player here, but bigger. Like Debo is kind of shorter and stockier, and he just kind of fits that wide receiver more so than Debo does. So do you like
Yeah.
that comparison, or how do you feel about that?
Debo, yeah, I could see a little bit Debo in him. Just, obviously Debo's almost like a running back playing wide receiver, at least with his build, but Concepcion is more a little bit like a slender kind of more wide receiver type. But I can see what you're saying. And yeah, I mean, when you watch the tape, it wasn't a ton of those manufactured touches, like in terms of like just screens and bubble screens and all that stuff. They seem to have just a good ability to make a play and get yards after the catch.
Would you say he's like more cultured, because he's got that last name, Concepcion,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, obviously, and then, he's already got a future first nickname, KCC or
That's
KDC,
right.
aka KCC. So he's flying up the board. I mean, he might be 101 at this point. Who
At
knows?
this point, who knows, man? All right, let's move on from KCC here and get into Omar Cooper Jr. from the Indiana Hoosiers, our favorite. 6 foot even, 199 pounds, 22.2 years old, running 367 routes in 2025 for 91 targets, a very nice 69 receptions. 937 yards, 13 touchdowns. That's a monster. 494 yards after the catch, 0.25 targets per route run, 2.55 yards per route run, 0.12 first down per route run, and 7.16 yak per reception. I don't know what to think of Omar Cooper Jr. here, man. Like, when I watch his film, he's a good wide receiver. I just think I like Elijah Sarratt more than I like Omar Cooper Jr. And I don't feel like that's consensus, so I feel like I should be wrong on that. But nonetheless, I mean, he had a heck of a season here in Indiana. Obviously, they won the championship with Fernando Mendoza at the helm. So is Fernando Mendoza the truck that's pulling the trailers of Omar Cooper Jr. and Elijah Sarratt, and we're just being fooled, or are these guys actually good?
No, I mean, I don't think. I mean, just how we're evaluating Fernando Mendoza, I don't see him as like that sort of level of player. I mean, he was definitely like Omar Cooper Jr. and Surratt would not be where they are without having a good quarterback. Like they themselves aren't those sorts of prospects, but I think they could both be fantasy relevant. I definitely am with you on that. I like Surratt better. Omar Cooper Jr. to me is kind of a guy that since we started the process, I don't even know if we mentioned him in our class overview. He was not on my radar, at least at the early process of analyzing players. He's kind of come on recently. I didn't see what he did he test at all on the because a lot of these guys just didn't. All they did was the one where they run down the line and turn and catch the ball. Like a ton of these guys didn't even run almost anything. I mean, the one guy who we talked about that did only hurt his stock, so maybe that's why they're not doing it. But it's weird to see, man. I feel like the more and more we go, the less and less we get from these guys, especially on I mean he had a 4.4240, so that's not horrible, right? Not a horrible but that's about all he did. I mean, he didn't do the 3-cone. He didn't do some of the other stuff. So, he's an interesting guy. I think people are falling in love with him maybe because of the Fernando Mendoza, like you're saying, wagon pulling. But I think he's a guy that has a decent amount to contribute to a team. It's just nothing. Wow, nothing to me like jumps off the page when I'm watching him and when I see him making plays. Is just he looks like a solid wide receiver. And sometimes those are the guys that pop in the NFL because they just need the right coach to continue to develop.
Yeah, 4.42 in the 40-yard dash, like you said. Quick. I mean, I think Denzel Boston is like the teams are gonna fall in love with him, but I don't know. I think he's more like a wide receiver 2 or like a like a 1B or something, right? Like he's not going to be that guy that's going to change a franchise. I definitely want to see him go where there's a much stronger player across the field for him. I think I could see like maybe the Rams going with an Omar Cooper Jr., kind of the replacement for Devontae Adams with Puka on the other side, something like that, and I would feel good about Omar Cooper Jr., but yeah, I think for the most part, like I like Elijah Sarratt as the prospect a little bit better there. So, should we move on here to Denzel?
Let's do it.
All right, my man, Denzel Washington. Nope, that's the wrong city. Denzel Boston, wide receiver 6. Funny enough, from the Washington Huskies, running 361 routes of 95 targets. 62 receptions, 881 yards, 11 touchdowns, 305 yards after the catch, 0.26 targets per route run, 2.44 yards per route run, 0.14 first down per route run, and a yak per reception of 4.92. This guy is pretty cemently, I feel like probably like the wide receiver 4 for most people out of the class. He gets kind of pushed up there quite a bit. He had a pretty monster 2025 season in comparison to any of his other seasons, which is kind of strange. A very late bloomer, and I don't know. For me, that's kind of a red flag. He is only a junior, I guess, which is something going for him. He only had 3 years of production, and the last year was the time that he kind of came out. Of course, as a Husky, he had, teammates like Rome Odunze that he was playing next to. He played with Michael Penix, and who were the other guys that came out of that one? The pair of players that ended up being nothings, but he actually played. Who you got?
Was it Jordan Ross?
No,
The guy
it
that was
was
like, no, the guy that broke
no,
the record. No.
no. One of them is on the Patriots. Um, Polk, Jalen
Oh,
Polk was
okay.
one of
Jalen
them,
Polk.
and then I can't remember the other one. Neither of them are anything. But Denzel Boston played with Jeremy Bernard. I don't think it was in Washington, but they played on a different team together, or maybe it was Washington. And Jeremy Bernard outproduced Denzel Boston when they were on the same team together, and that was with Roma Dunze on that team too. And I guess recency bias. Denzel Boston had a great 2025 season, and now he's kind of being vaulted up there. But analytically, like, his profile is okay. When I watch his film, I feel the same, man. Like, his film is just, he seems like an NFL wide receiver. Like, he can, get into the NFL, but I don't feel excited about Denzel Boston here and wanting to draft him. Like, he feels like, for me, I'm gonna take a shot at him in the back of the first, after guys like Sarratt, KC Concepcion. I might even start taking some shots on tight ends if it's a tight end premium over Denzel Boston here, and same with Omar Cooper Jr. But I don't know. Things are still up in the air, but that's just my feel of things right now. Where are you at with Denzel Boston?
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy that definitely didn't help himself the combine today. He didn't do much. He didn't do the 40 or anything. And when he did the on field drills, he looked kind of sloppy. He was dropping normal passes and kind of just struggled with his workout. So, I think his pro day for scouts and for the NFL will be pretty important. He was 6'4", 212 pounds. I think he's like the more, that's kind of like your true X, your true, wide receiver body, at least over the last like previous like 10, 15 years. Yeah, I tend to agree with a lot of what you said, so I don't want to like repeat too much. In terms of like where to draft him, I don't know that I would go that far in terms of like starting drafting tight ends. I mean, he's still projected to be a first round, maybe early second. So I think that would determine a lot, like how much does the NFL believe in him if he sneaks into the first. I think would keep him in that middle of like the back end of the quarter of the draft. Sorry, I was like spacing like from 108 to 112. I could see that making sense, but yeah, I don't want to repeat too much of what you said because I kind of feel a lot of the same things.
Okay, cool. Well, let's get into some of these other wide receivers that we do want to talk about. And I think, we both have some notes on Elijah Sarratt. So let's start there here. He's on the screen here, maybe halfway down. He's a senior, 6'2", out of Indiana. He's the running mate to Omar Cooper Jr., as we were talking about. He had 87 targets, 64 receptions on a total of 345 routes. He had 824 yards, 15 touchdowns. Man, I had to double check this. Collegiate career, 44 touchdowns. Like, literally lapping the field. I mean, the next highest touchdowns for this class was 25. And that's KC Concepcion. 44 touchdowns in a collegiate career, It's kind of wild. Obviously, almost damn near half of those coming last year, but he's got really great advanced analytics, 0.25 yards per route run, 2.38 yards per route run, 0.14 first down per route run, and 4.78 yards after the catch per reception there. So, I don't know, give me your notes on Elijah Sarratt, because he's someone I'm definitely targeting here in rookie drafts.
Yeah, I had the things I wrote down for. He's an X type. He's got good routes. He's great on slants. He reminded me quite a bit of a bit of a slant merchant like Michael Thomas. Although that was kind of towards the end of Michael Thomas's career. He could do more, but he seemed great in those sorts of positions. And what I liked is that he progressed through college. Every year he seemed like he got better. Obviously, I'm not going back and watching like 3 years worth of tape, but analytically and statistically, it looked like he progressed year on and year over. And like you said, I mean, he was a touchdown machine in college. So what does that tell you? What can he do in the NFL if used correctly? But yeah, man, he's definitely a guy that I'm more interested in than Cooper, and he doesn't seem to be getting a ton of buzz, which means maybe he can stay more so a sleeper. Maybe he's one of our show sleepers, one of guys we're pretty interested in. So I think he's a pretty interesting guy that might not be as well known as all the other guys.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to highlight a couple of guys that I don't like, just because I feel like that's almost as useful as highlighting guys we do like here. And much how we look at the tight end class, and we try to remove the tight ends who are more just pass blocking tight ends, and we want the ones that have kind of that pass catching profile to them. I think we need to look at wide receivers in a similar vein, where the roles that they play on the field, how that is going to be attractive in the NFL to some teams. Like just like teams need these pass blocking tight ends, they need slot wide receivers that can clear out space for these other guys. And I think some of those guys that I identify in this class that are probably going to be drafted pretty high in the NFL draft, but we need to be wary of their profile, are guys like Antonio Williams, Zachariah Branch, Ted Hurst, Dion Burks is another one. These guys are all guys that I am very, I don't, if they go in the first round or, early second round or something like that, I'm not going to be buying in on those kind of profiles here. You have thoughts on any of this?
No, I mean, I'm not a hater like J Mac over here, so I don't have a hate list.
Certified hater.
Nah, no, I mean, those are some names, some of those guys that I haven't even, started to really dig into. So I don't want to
skip them.
Just skip them, just throw them away.
Just skip
you could just delete them from your spreadsheet,
That's
basically.
Right. That's right.
Yeah, no, I think one of the only other guys, I'm not sure if we, Chris Bell, he was the guy that, was a little bit interesting. I was seeing some stuff. He was a guy when you were talking about Debo that he is built like Debo. He had solid 2 years, and in the college, he had decent speed for his size, decent hands. He's an okay separator. He's just a decent guy, maybe a guy to take a shot on in like your second round type of thing, depending on what his draft capital is. So, but apart from that, I'm pretty good on the rest of these guys.
Yeah, I like that call. I also like Skylar Bile as like a really late round guy. Like I expect him to be like a day 3 guy in the NFL draft, and hopefully he kind of slips into round 3 here. Like if you have any third rounds, that's where I want to kind of spend him. Bryce Lance, who is Trey Lance's brother, he's got pretty good analytics. I don't know much. I haven't watched much film on him or anything like that, but he's another guy I have a finger on the pulse for. Eric McAllister is a profile I probably shouldn't be buying into, but I am. I really like Eric McAllister. He didn't test. Another guy to be wary of is Jeff Caldwell. He ran incredibly fast at the combine. I think it was like a 4.3, something like that. And obviously you can see on the screen his analytics kind of popping green here. So he played at Linden University, which is, it's part of like the Ohio High Conference or something like that. It was like, dude, like, oh man, Ohio Valley Conference, like it's bad. And then he played 1 year at Cincinnati, and as you can see here, like had an okay year, but he ran really fast and tested really well at the combine. So I think he could potentially get drafted pretty high here. And I'm just, 6'5", 215 that ran like a 4 sub-3. I think a lot of NFL teams are going to try to take a shot on that. And I am very wary of that Yeah, the wide receiver class is deep here. We're going to get more pieces to the puzzle here as the offseason goes on, but hopefully this gives you guys a really high-end look of what to expect from this class, and we'll keep you guys plugged in as things go forward.
Yeah, and I mean, since the combine is wrapping up here, just to shout out two people that had an amazing combine. I mean, IDP people out there, you're probably going crazy. I mean, Sonny Styles, or I think his real name is Lorenzo Styles. I mean, this dude is. If you were impressed by what Sadiq did, I mean, this dude was just doing it on the defensive side. I mean, his 40, his vert, he pretty much, I think, broke every record there was. I mean, he, like, besides the 40-yard dash, but in terms of what his size and speed was. But I think he set the vert jump record and a broad jump record. He's 6'5", 244 and moving like a decent sized running back in terms of his speed. It was crazy. The latest mock has him going to the Cowboys, so that would be extremely exciting. For that, I don't know after this combine if that's even going to be possible. And then Jeremiah Love. I mean, we did our running back episode already, but the combine hadn't happened. And Jeremiah Love was as fast as Gibbs running the 40 with 13, 15 pounds heavier, and a completely different kind of style of play in terms of his physicality that he brings to the table. So Jeremiah Love had himself quite the day as well. I know we did our running back episode, but I just wanted to shout that out as well because everything he's doing is trending him to be a top 10 pick, maybe 15 in the NFL draft. So only good things coming if you have the 101.
And what's wild about that too is like when you go to the combine, center on NFL, whatever, like they still don't have him as good as a prospect as Genty is. And like, I'm just like, how like athletically, like the athletic score behind him. I get maybe Genty had like a higher production score, but like overall, it's just wild. Man, I'm so jealous for everyone that has the 101. I wish I had some more of those, but let's roll into the 1-0 outro here and wrap it up. Again, congratulations to G Hopkin 3. Reach out to us. Let's get you that Dynasty team review rolling, and looking forward to doing more of those. If you guys want it, please hit us up at futurefirstpod@gmail.com, and we'll get you guys plugged in. Hey man, let's go. The off season is rolling. I mean, I feel like now we don't really have much to look forward to until the draft, but I guess free agency, right?
Yeah, free agency should be fun. But as always, guys, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Future First, Player Profiler Now, Rookie HQ, all the places. Please like, comment, subscribe.